Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, let's explore together how to break free from the exhausting cycle of overthinking that keeps so many of us trapped in endless mental loops. Perhaps you find yourself caught in repetitive thoughts, analyzing every detail until your mind feels completely exhausted. Maybe you've tried countless strategies to stop overthinking, but you keep returning to the same mental patterns that drain your energy and steal your peace. If you feel trapped by your own thoughts and struggle to find mental quiet, please know that you're not alone in this experience. Recent groundbreaking neuroscience research has revealed exactly why our brains get stuck in these thinking patterns, and more importantly, scientists have discovered specific, evidence-based methods to literally rewire our neural pathways. Today, we'll explore what the latest brain imaging studies tell us about overthinking, and we'll learn practical techniques that have been proven to create measurable changes in brain connectivity. The scientific community has made remarkable discoveries about what happens in our brains when we get caught in overthinking patterns. Let me share some of the most fascinating recent findings with you. A groundbreaking study published in 2024 revolutionized our understanding of overthinking through advanced brain imaging technology. This was a pre-registered randomized clinical trial involving 76 adolescents ages 14 to 17 who had a history of depression. The researchers used a specialized intervention called Rumination-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, or RFCBT, and the results were extraordinary. Using functional MRI technology, the scientists observed significant reductions in connections between a brain region called the left posterior cingulate cortex and two other critical areas, the right inferior frontal gyrus and the right inferior temporal gyrus. These regions are directly involved in self-referential thinking and emotional processing. What this means is that the intervention literally changed how these brain areas communicate with each other. The participants who received 10 to 14 sessions of RFCBT showed significant decreases in rumination compared to control groups. Perhaps most remarkably, the brain scans revealed reduced activity in what neuroscientists call the default mode network. This is the neural network that becomes active when our minds wander and when we engage in repetitive negative thinking. This study is particularly important because it represents a pre-registered replication of initial findings from 2016. This means that different research teams, working with different groups of people, found the same results. This level of scientific validation gives us confidence that these brain changes are real and reproducible. A comprehensive systematic review completed in April 2024 analyzed multiple studies and found that RFCBT demonstrates preliminary evidence for eliminating depressive symptoms after treatment while also preventing depression from returning. The research specifically targets what neuroscientists call repetitive negative thinking, which includes both worry patterns and rumination. Brain imaging research has also revealed fascinating insights about a network called the default mode network, or DMN. This network becomes hyperactive in people who overthink, and it's been implicated in the onset and maintenance of major depressive disorder. When we're caught in repetitive thinking patterns, this network is working overtime, essentially keeping us stuck in mental loops. Meta-analytic evidence published in a scientific journal called Nature Scientific Reports demonstrates that mindfulness training creates measurable changes in default mode network connectivity. Studies involving healthy adults showed that just 31 days of mindfulness meditation training altered large-scale brain network connectivity. Specifically, researchers observed increased cross-network connectivity between the default mode network, the salience network, and the frontoparietal control network. What's particularly exciting is that this enhanced connectivity serves as a mechanism for what researchers call internally oriented attentional control. In simple terms, mindfulness training literally builds stronger connections between brain networks that help us control where our attention goes. Recent 2024 research on mindfulness-based neurofeedback found that targeted interventions can successfully reduce default mode network activity. The studies demonstrate that reduced DMN activity during meditation appears consistent across different meditation practices and correlates with improved sustained attention and reduced negative repetitive thinking. Now that we understand what the science tells us, let's explore some practical approaches that research suggests might be helpful. Please remember that these are suggestions for your consideration, and what works for one person might not work for another. The first approach involves what researchers call neural rewiring through functional analysis. This technique comes directly from the RFCBT methodology that proved effective in clinical trials. You begin with a systematic approach to identify your rumination triggers. You might try creating a daily log where you track when overthinking episodes occur, what triggers them, and how long they last. The key is to practice what scientists call functional analysis by examining the context, your emotional state, and physical sensations present during rumination. This awareness-building phase typically requires 7 to 10 days of consistent monitoring to establish patterns, and it lays the groundwork for targeted intervention. For example, you might notice that overthinking tends to happen in the evening when you're tired, or perhaps it's triggered by certain types of conversations or situations. By identifying these patterns, you're essentially creating a map of your mind's tendency to ruminate. The second approach focuses on mindfulness-based default mode network regulation. This involves implementing evidence-based mindfulness practices specifically designed to reduce default mode network hyperactivity. You might begin with 10 to 15 minutes daily of focused attention meditation, progressively building to 20 to 30 minutes. The technique involves sustained attention to your breath or body sensations while practicing non-judgmental awareness of mind-wandering episodes. Research demonstrates that this practice creates measurable changes in brain connectivity within 4 to 6 weeks, specifically strengthening the prefrontal cortex's ability to regulate repetitive thinking patterns. The key is consistency rather than perfection. Even when your mind wanders during meditation, that's actually part of the practice. Each time you notice your mind has wandered and gently return attention to your breath, you're literally strengthening the neural pathways that will help you outside of meditation. The third approach involves cognitive flexibility training through present moment anchoring. This is a scientifically validated technique that you can use in real time when you notice overthinking beginning. When you catch yourself starting to overthink, you might immediately engage your 5 senses. Identify 3 things you can see, 2 sounds you can hear, and 1 physical sensation you can feel. This practice interrupts the default mode network's activation while strengthening what's called the salience network's ability to redirect attention. The recommendation is to practice this technique 5 to 10 times daily, even when you're not overthinking, to build neural pathways for rapid attention shifting. It's like building muscle memory for your brain's ability to shift out of rumination mode. The fourth approach uses what RFCBT researchers call experiential exercises to break rumination habits through behavioral activation. This might seem paradoxical, but you actually schedule specific thinking time for about 15 minutes daily where you deliberately engage with your concerns, then practice complete mental disengagement afterward. This approach helps establish boundaries around repetitive thinking while building confidence in your ability to control mental processes. The key is to follow your thinking time with immediate physical activity or creative engagement to reinforce neural pathway switching. You might go for a walk, do some art, or engage in any activity that requires your hands and attention. The fifth approach involves sleep hygiene optimization specifically designed to support neural rewiring during rest periods. This is important because your brain does much of its rewiring and consolidation work while you sleep. You might establish what some people call a digital sunset 90 minutes before bedtime, as screen light disrupts the brain's natural cleaning processes during sleep. You could also create a brief evening reflection practice where you write down 3 completed tasks and 3 priorities for tomorrow. This helps transition your brain from active problem-solving mode to restorative rest, supporting the consolidation of new neural pathways developed during daytime mindfulness training. The sixth approach focuses on progressive exposure to uncertainty, building tolerance for the unknown through graduated exposure exercises based on clinical research. You might start with small, low-stakes situations where you practice accepting uncertainty without mental analysis. For example, you could choose a restaurant without reading reviews, or take a different route somewhere without planning it out completely. Gradually, you can progress to larger uncertainties while maintaining your mindfulness practices. This approach systematically helps your brain's threat detection system become less sensitive to uncertainty, reducing the triggers that often start overthinking episodes. Let me summarize the key points we've discussed today, as these will also appear on your screen for easy reference. First, overthinking activates specific brain networks, particularly the default mode network, but these patterns can be rewired through targeted interventions. Understanding this gives you hope that change is possible. Second, mindfulness training creates measurable changes in default mode network connectivity within just a few weeks of consistent practice. You don't need years of meditation experience to see benefits. Third, rumination-focused cognitive behavioral therapy has been proven to create measurable brain changes in rumination patterns, offering a structured approach to breaking free from repetitive thinking. Fourth, present moment anchoring using your 5 senses can interrupt repetitive thinking cycles in real time, giving you a practical tool to use whenever you notice overthinking beginning. Fifth, scheduling specific thinking time paradoxically reduces overall mental rumination by creating boundaries around when and how long you engage with concerns. Sixth, building tolerance for uncertainty through gradual exposure helps reduce the triggers that often initiate overthinking episodes, creating more mental freedom in daily life. Your brain's tendency to overthink isn't a permanent character flaw or something you need to accept forever. The latest neuroscience research proves that these are changeable neural patterns that respond remarkably well to targeted, evidence-based interventions. You have the power to literally rewire your mind for greater peace and clarity. The techniques we've discussed today aren't just theories, they're backed by brain imaging studies that show real, measurable changes in neural connectivity. Start with just one approach that resonates with you, practice it consistently, and within weeks you can begin experiencing the mental freedom that comes from mastering your thoughts rather than being controlled by them. If today's discussion provided any support or insight, please consider hitting the like button. If you'd like to continue learning about mental health and evidence-based approaches to well-being, we'd be honored to have you subscribe to our channel. Remember that you deserve the same patience and kindness you would show to someone you care about. Thank you for listening until the end today, and we'll see you in the next video.